The steal by Iverson, posting in. He wins it. He won the game. Embiid there to say absolutely no. Three from Scott. Yeah, do you love this game?
He's back, Joel Embiid, giving the Celtics the business in a way that only he can enjoy. I guess the Sixers fans can enjoy it as well. Hey, we're going to enjoy this podcast with you. Welcome to Sixers Talk, brought to you by Wilmington University. Wilmu Works, Danny Pommells, Ben Berry, Joel Embiid telling Doc Rivers walking off the court after the game, "I'm back." Doc Rivers responds, I noticed. So it's like Joel comes out and wrecks shop against the Celtics, feeling good about himself. And hey, bro, like he said, coming out, Ben, these are our rival. This is our rival. So taking care of business, sweeping them here on the season series is important to him. And he came out and played like it, erupting against the Celtics for 35 points.
It was nice, and it made a world of a difference. I know the Celtics have gone through some things this season, but they're not on the Sixers level. In the pregame show, and they talked about it as well in the postgame show, Mark Jackson, Amy Fadul, shout outs to them. Mark isn't worried about the Celtics at all. Amy was. I don't think there's any reason to be worried about the Celtics at all. This is not the Celtics team of years past, last year, the year before. They don't have the bench. They don't have the size to contain Joel Embiid. At this point, they have Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, and neither one of them are stopping Embiid. Embiid has grown a lot. He's prepared for when the double team comes because the Celtics has no one. They don't have a single player that can slow down Embiid. So the only chance of them doing that is sending a double team his way, and he's prepared. He's prepared to pass out of it and showed last night. So if they send a double team, he's going to find the open man, and if they don't, he's going to feast at the rim.
You know what? Looking at the Celtics, I do feel like they have a formula to contend with the Sixers in maybe a 7-game series because Evan Fournier was out. And while they don't have anybody to deal with Joel, they can double team him. And if their rotations are better, they were leaving Danny Green wide open on the rotation. So the Sixers would swing it and Danny would get the open shot. But I think that if Evan Fournier is back in the lineup, he's spacing it more. He's another 3-point shooter. That is a way to combat what the Sixers do when they're pumping it into Joel, is to shoot really well from the outside. So, it's hard to sustain that over a 7-game series, but that is a formula to beating the Sixers or keeping pace with the Sixers. And maybe, there's some mitigating factors that push you over the top. But yeah, man, when he's dominating like that, though, when he's getting to the free throw line, when he's got your front court in foul trouble, it's a wrap. It's really, you're playing on your heels the whole game. Joel's having his way. Doc Rivers made an interesting point, though, something that we have noticed in past seasons, though, is that even though Joel is back, having him in the lineup does change the rhythm that the Sixers have as a team, because he needs time to work and do his thing while other people are like, maybe cutting or spacing the floor or, getting to their spots in case he gets double teamed and can kick it out to them. So they need to find a way, which is Doc Rivers' words, to incorporate Joel and keep their rhythm at the same time. So that's going to be a challenge that fans should look for over these next 20 or so games as the Sixers ramp things back up. But we probably won't be seeing Joel for several of those 20 games because there's a lot of back-to-backs and things like that mixed in. But the Sixers are in a good situation, man. I like the fact that they're building up to the playoffs with Joel feeling good and looking good at the same time.
No, it's nice. I know Danny Green is happy that Joel is back. He has benefited the most, and it's nice when he's knocking down shots. Yes, he's the veteran. He does a lot of things when he's not knocking down shots, commanding the floor, directing players where to go on the defensive end. But with Joel back in the lineup, got another shooter open. Don't have to worry about the paint because Joel isn't there. So Joel being in the lineup is nice. I'm not sure what happened with some of the other guys on the team last night. That might have been Tobias's worst game of the season. Maybe that's a stretch. I don't think so. But I wouldn't bank with it from what we've seen from him all season long. So to your point, the rhythm was a little off. Hopefully they can get things moving in forward motion by the time the playoffs start. Everyone get into rhythm.
Yeah, I think that's the thing is like, you know, in Danny Green's prolific shooting, there's also, you know, and Joel's great play, there's also other issues, little things that didn't quite. So I think that's the rhythm thing Doc's talking about is, you know, when Joel's out 10 games, you know, when he's in the lineup, there's certain, you know, things you're just used to when it's like, okay, he gets double team. I want to space the floor and be here in this position, but he's not on the floor. Like you haven't done that in 10 games, even though you do it in practice, it's still, you know, something you got to kind of reincorporate. So, you know, other guys' numbers being down, I'm happy that they were able to get the win in that regard. So I'm using that as a positive glass half full type of thing because, you know, I feel like ever since I sent out that tweet after the Timberwolves game when Tobias went to 32, like suddenly the last two games, he's been a little subpar and below those 50, 40, 90 numbers. So hopefully for his sake, he picks that up because he told us specifically, you were there last season when he told us that that was really something he wanted at Sixers Media Day. So listen, man, I'm going to just, hey, steady as she goes. And I'm still in that survive and advance mentality. I look at the way the playoffs are shaping up, and if you got a healthy Joel Embiid and an offense that kind of comes back into its own, I'm not as concerned about these Heat and Celtics second round matchups, even though those teams do have some gelling that they can do to be more formidable when the postseason comes. So, you know, I think that if the Sixers are what they have been through the season, which is a front runner, a team with a potential MVP candidate and several shooters, they have the formula to get things together. I want George Hill back in the lineup. I'm disappointed that there's no quite timetable for him to come back. Doc Rivers kind of showed his hand by saying the other night that he only needs like a 10-game ramp up for the postseason. So maybe we'll see him at least the last 10 games, maybe before. But I think that, you know, Doc showed his hand a bit on that on George Hill. So I was hoping he would be back sooner, but, you know, I got to acquiesce to the people who know more than me.
You know, I don't want to speak this into the universe, but it popped in my head last night.
Lord. Oh, Lord.
How
Ben
bad
Berry,
would
everybody.
How bad would it suck if George Hill doesn't play a game this season?
That would be super Sixers.
Yeah,
that would be
like
Sixers stuff, bro.
The game ended. I hopped in bed. And then, like, you know, when you try to, I don't know, maybe this is only me. You try to like relax and go to sleep, and you think, yo, where's my birth certificate? You start worrying about something that makes
my
no
social
sense.
security card.
Where is it? I got in bed, threw the covers on, and I was like, yo, what if George Hill doesn't play all season? Now I'm worried about things that we don't know.
That's real Sixers fan stuff. That's real Sixers fan stuff.
Hopefully what Doc said is just he needs a 10-game warm-up, and we see him towards the end of the season. Before we move on, it's something I wanted to point out because it infuriated me last year during the playoffs. Or last year during the playoffs was the tipping point because it happened against the Celtics. When they would pick and roll and Joel Embiid would just stand back and guys would have open jumpers. Doc and the Sixers had found a good middle ground because he was challenging people and the Sixers weren't just letting guys shoot wide open, uncontested jumpers off the pick and roll. So that was nice to see.
Yeah, you know, Joel, he's definitely turned it up this season. And I think, you know, sometimes his judgment and, you know, if the man he's guarding has an open 17-foot jumper, typically that person isn't a good mid-range shooter. So I can see why he would, you know, lag off on the pick and roll. But at the same time, it's a little lazy too. Like you just, because all you got to do is contest it. Like instead of lagging off and trying to conserve that little bit of energy that you from not jumping or getting your hand out there or closing out properly. So I'm just looking at the way the game went last night. And I'm looking at the numbers, and if it wasn't for Danny Green, bro, like the 3-point shooting would have been in the toilet. I mean, they lose by, I mean, they win by 10 points. You know, he goes 5 of 6 from 3. The rest of the team, you know, as a team, they only shot 24 threes, only made 9 of them. They only make 10 and a half a game, but they need to find a way to shoot more threes. And it's easy to say make more threes, but the more attempts, the more likelihood you can make it. So they're at the bottom of the league when it comes to that category. Definitely something that we hope George Hill would help bolster, but we won't know until he's back. He's back ready to play. So That's something I'm definitely like is like on the back burner for me. Like it's sticking in the right here. You see that my neck right here? It's sticking right here. Yeah, right here. So
for me, it's a balance. I believe what a lot of former and current coaches say, whether it's Jeff Van Gundy, his brother Stan, not our Mark Jackson, other Mark Jackson. You hear Charles Barkley.
Man down.
I hate that saying so much, but
why? Mama, there goes that man.
We're going to keep moving. Not going to address it. No, I want the Sixers to make more 3-pointers, but something that's happened with the don't want to say the blow up, but just teams shooting more threes and following that Golden State and Houston Rockets model. It's not beneficial. You can't make them.
Right. So they're passing out the double team and dudes are bricking threes. Like,
yes, it's about the balance. So if the guys are going to be open beyond the arc, I want them to shoot it, but I don't want guys that can't shoot to be shooting it. So I guess all in all, when the off season comes, next year's trade deadline, if there's guys we are comfortable with shooting 3 more, like Matisse, last night's game, I watched the TNT broadcast for the first half and our broadcast for the second half, and it was mentioned if he can become a consistent knockdown 3-point shooter, he'll have a long career. And that is very true because defensively, he brings everything you want. The offensive game, it's not there, and sometimes the 3-point shot is there. Other times, you would be shocked if he ever hit one. So
that's why I think Danny Green is the great addition to the team because that is what Matisse should be. He needs to mold his game into that. Obviously, Danny Green has been a good shooter for a long time, dating back to college. But, like, you know, I feel like if he gets locked in the gym, bro, you know, one real off season where he gets time, like, you know, maybe this off season will be to work on his game. It doesn't have to be a put it on the floor dribble game, and he just needs to knock down threes consistently.
Spot up 3-point shooter. If he turns into that, I'll be happy. So yes, if Matisse can just shoot the ball just a tick below average from beyond the arc, that'd be nice. If Shake can get back up to his 3-point percentage from last year, that would be great. If Danny Green knocks him down like we all want him to, Seth Curry, I know it's the ankle injury and the COVID, and it's just he's been in and out of the lineup. But if he can be what you want him to be, that would be
not
great.
Good enough for me. It's not good enough for me for Seth Curry. I definitely need him to step up, bro. I mean, you're the starting shooting guard. We just need more contribution from you, and he's shown it in spurts. But yeah, and we tried to give him the benefit of the doubt in the last podcast. But he is the guy that they brought in to try to fill that. What we want, they wanted Josh Richardson to be, you know, the scoring that they've lacked, you know, but they need to shoot more and make more threes. Like, bro, Utah is almost in a position where they attempt more 3-pointers per game than 2-pointers. They're at the top of the league when it comes to 3-point attempts and makes, and the Sixers don't have to be there, but there's a long way to go, man. And I think hopefully it won't be something that comes back to bite them and rears its ugly head. It's just the jury's still out on whether George Hill can help them improve there. They can go from shooting 28 threes a game to 33 threes a game, and it will make a considerable difference. And, you know, the makes that they have because they're having more attempts, and some of those attempts might be open shots, might be, you know, Danny Green right in the shooting pocket, Furkan Korkmaz, you know, where he needs to be. So the more attempts they have, you know, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, Wayne Gretzky. So I just think they need to shoot more threes, and hopefully George Hill brings that, man.
I hear you. I want them to shoot more threes. I don't want everyone to shoot more threes. And back to Seth Curry, we talked about it before. I think it's just unfair to him when he's running the offense and initiating things because that's not his forte. So that could play a role. But yes, we definitely, you, me, and the fans definitely want to see more out of him offensively.
But that's a George Hill point too, of running the offense. George Hill can come run the offense, and Seth can just go off screens and just be like his brother catching and shooting in some aspects.
Yeah, no, that would benefit him. It would benefit Shake because Shake doesn't need to be initiating the offense. And we talked about it plenty of times before the trade deadline. And since the Sixers acquired George Hill, Ben Simmons is the only point guard in the team if they're not going to give Tyrese Maxey minutes. So I don't trust. I'm not comfortable with anyone else initiating the offense. So having George Hill here to do that is a great benefit.
Since I brought it up, did you see Steph Curry, Seth's brother, and what he did to the Bucks last night?
I did not. I saw the.
It was the second game on TNT. Yeah, it was the second game on TNT. It just Steph doing Steph stuff, bro. Like, man.
So since we're
talent, bro. Just
we're talking about the Curry brothers now, and I don't know where we would have got into this, but the Celtics. They had all those assets for years, and they was always just playing for the best opportunity. And it's quite interesting to see, like, they have no bench. They have no bigs. Kemba Walker.
Well, they didn't have Tristan Thompson last night. Tristan Thompson didn't play. So I know it's Tristan Thompson, but he's a body and he's experienced. So
he's a body, he's experienced. And people said the Celtics don't have Tristan Thompson. And what matchup previously has Tristan Thompson slowed down Joel Embiid? Yes, it's another body. It's not like they're big.
The front court was in foul trouble and they don't have him. So it's something. It means something.
So Tristan Thompson would have kept Joel Embiid at 32 points instead of more.
Right. Instead of 6 rebounds, he'd have 4. Right.
Right. So the Kemba Walker point I was going to make. It's a weird day and age when he can't cook Seth Curry. Like, couldn't get past him. And I don't know if he's fully healthy. Maybe I should reach out to the guys in Boston at our sister network.
Hey, bro.
Like,
it hasn't worked.
I don't know if it's an injury or if he's just past, like, on the back end of a career now.
Yeah, man, it's weird. Boston, they were in the Eastern Conference Finals this past season, though. Like, they played the Heat for a chance to go to the title and face the Lakers. Like, they've taken a huge step back. They have made trades and adjustments to try to combat and, stave off some of what they've done. But Kemba hasn't worked out, bro. It hasn't worked out because maybe he's just a little past prime. He's had the injuries that have kind of crept up on him specifically this season. He's been in and out the lineup. So I don't want to say that he's past his prime because the cardiac Kemba, 60 points, there's definitely like
that was 10 years ago.
It was not 10. Cardiac Kemba was 10 years ago, but he dropped 60 on Jimmy Butler just 2 seasons ago.
Yeah, so that was a couple years ago.
But I don't know, bro. It hasn't worked out. I don't care if it does work out for the Celtics, but all in all, the Sixers are in a position where they're better than their rival. They swept them this season after the Celtics bounced them out embarrassingly in the first round, and Joel Embiid was definitely a part of that. And we talk about what Joel has done. Just take a moment to step back. In 3 games against the Celtics this season, this dude has scored 115 points in 3 games. Like, just barbecue chicken underneath that basket.
Eating. Unstoppable. They don't have anyone to stop him, even though you jokingly said Tristan Thompson. So
they had Daniel Tice, who stretched Joel out to the 3-point line a little bit.
I mean, Daniel Tice.
I shouldn't have said that.
No, you shouldn't. No, look, the Sixers are head and shoulders better than the Celtics. I don't think there's any doubt about it.
They've turned a corner. I don't know if it's the Sixers or a combination of Sixers being better and Celtics being worse, but the Sixers have turned a corner in this rivalry because it's not much of a rivalry anymore. The Sixers sweeping this series for the first time in 20 years, bro.
I don't. When was the last time it was a rivalry? Because it was said to be a rivalry before, but it was one-sided with just Boston the last couple of years, I feel like.
Yeah, and the Sixers were tanking for so long. But the last time it was a rivalry, I don't know. Maybe when
AI and Paul Pierce?
Yeah, or maybe, I don't know. But the Sixers have definitely been on the wrong side of it for a while now. And it credits Danny Ainge and Brad Stevens and the way that they've retooled and whatnot. But
And so that's why I brought up the whole Kemba Walker thing, because they had all those assets, and it was always, we still have next year. And I don't think they have a next year anymore. So
they don't, but they got the crazy trade exception in that Charlotte deal with Gordon Hayward or whatever. So they're still wheeling and dealing.
For years, Boston was arguably the second best team in the Eastern Conference behind Cleveland when LeBron was still in the Eastern Conference. But they always had next year. But they've fallen behind the Sixers, the Nets, arguably. The Heat made it to a finals. I don't discount them, though.
I don't discount what they can do next season. I don't discount. I was surprised they weren't in on the hard and stuff, but I don't discount them, man. I'm glad right now. I'm gonna live in the present. I'm gonna be happy at what they're doing right now.
Start college, build skills, and complete your degree with Wilmington University. 100% online options and affordable tuition makes WilMU work for you. Learn more at wilmu.edu.
There are 2 All-Stars on the Sixers team, Ben. 3 if you consider Tobias Harris a snub from this past year's team. But 2 All-Stars from this past season specifically, and Ben Simmons. Another game where he wasn't quite as impactful as you would like. He did have some that reverse layup he had was disgustingly sick. Switch hands in the air, came out on the other side. But not quite as dominating, not quite as impactful in the game as you would like. Even though the Sixers, had that crazy 15-0 run in the second quarter where Danny Green, I think he had 11 of those points in that run. But are we harping on Ben too much? We're still waiting for the consistency that we talked about in the last podcast, but he goes 4 for 7. In this podcast, in this game, he has 12 points. 50% from the free throw line. It's just not quite the virtuoso. Maybe it doesn't have to be virtuoso. Maybe it's just not quite the impactful performance that you would like to see from him. I think the thing we always harp on is the fact that he has all these gifts and he's so much bigger than everyone else, yet he doesn't win his matchup or cause the other team fits as the way you would expect. So is this another topic where we don't have to hit it too hard once again because we talked about it in the last podcast, or is Ben just giving us reason to talk about it because he continues to be just meh?
Ben has given us reasons. Doc Rivers.
No one wants to be mad. No one wants to be mad.
Daryl Rivers is giving. Daryl Morey, not Daryl Rivers, is giving us reasons.
I like that. Daryl Rivers.
So here's the thing, because we've been told for years, whether it was Brett and Elton, now Doc and Daryl, teammates, he doesn't need a jump shot. We've heard that plenty of times. You know what? Granted, I'll give you, he doesn't need a jump shot. That would make sense, or I would buy it if he was good in other particular areas offensively, but he's not. I've never seen someone as athletic, fast, and tall as Ben Simmons in the post get the ball and have no plan for what to do after that.
Well, so we saw that little baby hook come back. That baby hook is back.
And how often is he going to the baby hook? It's really like, oh, I didn't think I would get this far. I don't know what to do now. There's no plan 9 times out of 10 when he's in the post. And it's not that I want to be negative, Ned, and you want to harp on it or anything. The Sixers and Ben Simmons just give us like, hey, he doesn't need a jump shot. Goes out there and kind of lays a dud offensively over and over again. Okay, you don't need a jump shot, but you would dominate in other areas, and it just doesn't happen.
Well, I think that they definitely protect Ben by surrounding him by other 3-point shooters.
They do that.
Tobias, yeah, right. So that's the formula, is that when they get in the postseason, when teams are like daring Ben to shoot, he's gonna, drive and kick. and find the open shooters, as he, has been assisting on 3-pointers, all season long at a crazy clip. I hate waiting to see if that will happen. As part of the angst of being a fan is like you're hoping that all these, platitudes come to fruition. But I just, I look back at, what he was, the progress he made and the regression that he's had. And, you're looking for the consistency and things like that. And he's saying stuff like he's got to get his ish together. So, I just, it's not frustrating watching him try to figure out. It's the part for me is that how will it affect the team? So that's where I'm like, I hope this isn't the thing that's like the Achilles heel for this team where, we talked about the shooting. We talked about, them making sure everybody's healthy and whatnot. But, Ben and his growth, has to be something that they're able to, say, you've come this far and it won't hurt us here in the postseason because we've got all the pieces around you so you can continue to facilitate and be at your best. So I hate to go back to George Hill, but if you have another ball handler on the floor and Ben is able to roam and get tip-ins and be in the dunker spot and alley-oops and things, like it's a little different dynamic. So like you said, he's the only true point guard on the team right now. If you're not playing Maxey, I think that's a great point where other guys can initiate offense, but they're not doing it as a pass-first player or a player who's a legitimate point guard or, a point guard that can facilitate in that way like Ben. So, but George Hill does have that. So I hate to go back to that, but it's got to be something that they are also looking at like, well, let's get, Kyle Lowry. Well, we can't get Kyle. Let's get George Hill as a consolation prize. So, or as my kids used to say, constellation prize. But you see me, you see what I'm saying that way? Like, I think that once again, it's the George Hill factor.
I see what you're saying. It's the Sixers. So I think this all comes down to just Ben in the sense that if Joel's not on the floor, the Dwight and Ben pairing does not work well together. So, okay, you don't put Dwight in the game with Ben, but you want George Hill in the game. Do you put Ben at the 5? You put Ben at the 5. Again, not a guy with a lot of plans or purpose down on the block in the post. Yeah, he has the baby hook, but what else besides that? I think so. Just the pairing and matchups, because that is an issue. The backup 4 to the backup 5 position. I see you want to say something.
Well, I want to get the vision. So you're saying Ben at the 5, George Hill at the point, and him and Seth Curry in the backcourt with Tobias.
Like I think that's a real possibility because you're not in the playoffs. I don't think there's any way Doc is going to put Ben and Dwight on the court at the same time because it's just not.
I actually like what you propose. If Ben's at the 5, see the defense is the thing I worry about. But Ben at the 5, Danny Green and Tobias at the 3 and 4, and then Seth and George Hill in the backcourt. You got a ball handler, you got shooters. Like it's still Ben and 4 shooters. You know what I'm saying? So I think right. I like that.
I like it. Ben's whole thing is I just want to see more and be aggressive. Like I know Marcus Smart, for example, is a gnat at a barbecue. A lot of guys just can't put up with his defense.
He averages more points against the Sixers than any other team.
My friends, they watch anytime the Sixers and Celtics play, they're just annoyed by Marcus Smart. And I think that's just most people around the league, most fans around the country or whatever. I think Ben should eat anytime Marcus Smart is on him, especially in the post. It's just not happening. I want to see those improvements because for the Sixers to go far, it has to be a well-oiled machine. Can't worry about Ben in the post or not taking open shots or things like that come the playoffs.
Well, that's the issue is that suddenly they don't have a lot of time. It's 20 games or so, but they don't have a lot of time to figure those things out. And, some guys have been in and out of the lineup. Joel misses 10 games. Seth Curry is having issues. George Hill's not playing. So you don't get as much time as you would like to try to figure out who fits together the best and what schemes and systems and, action to run in order to get people in their best position. So it's something they'll have to figure out, but I am starting to, even if you look at Brooklyn, I'm curious how they'll look in the postseason as well. Cause it's like all of a sudden Kevin Durant's coming back on Wednesday, reportedly, and then James Harden's out and needs to be reevaluated with some hamstring issues. So, they might be good friends and whatnot, but playing together for a consistent period of time isn't something that they've done this season. So Sixers don't have that same problem at that extent, but they do have the problem similarly is that guys aren't in the lineup enough for them to figure out all the details of who fits together the best on the court at what time. So the Bucks, though, don't quite have that issue. Drew Holiday is fitting in really well. So I'm just trying to project, how all this stuff figures itself out over the next 20 games or so into the postseason. So right now, even though the Bucks lost to Golden State without Giannis, I feel like they're having the most consistency when it comes to the lineup because Drew Holiday has fit in incredibly well. And while James Harden has fit in well, he hasn't been on the court with the other dudes. You know what I'm saying? So you got to have time in together.
Yeah, time in, chemistry, need everyone to gel. It'll be interesting once the playoffs starts to see how this all plays up because those top three teams have made moves before the season and during the season to shore things up to give them an upper hand. And
I like our
big part of it. A big part of it will be to see just what team has the best chemistry come playoffs.
So, hey, everybody out there, if you turned Ben's head upside down, it would look exactly the same because the beard would be the hair and the hair would be the beard. If you just
I shaved the beard, so it's not as much on the cheeks anymore. No, I didn't take it all off because I got a fat face and the beard covers that up a little. But the hair on the top doesn't match the hair on the chin.
I think he's still. Oh yeah, it might be like a Caesar, like a low boy, then like a big Philly.
Yeah, like it might have a Caesar on top, then the freeway on the bottom. So, Danny, can you grow your hair?
I can. Yeah, I fired my hair before it quit on me. So
I respect. You came home. I've just only known you as bald, so we talk
about
being
bald. I wish I didn't have to shave though. I wish it didn't grow at all. That's what
you got to shave. What, every 2 days?
Nah, I like to keep it nice and smooth for my lady. So
every day?
I go every day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I just got
when I'm on TV, if I'm at the crib, just around town or whatever, I definitely go every day.
Gotcha.
But hit me up for all of your bald tips because I've been a bald man for quite a while now. So hit me up if you need any pointers. But he has been Berry with the beard and the hair. I am Danny Pommells with the smooth baldy. We appreciate you listening to the Sixers Talk podcast. We are nothing without you. Keep those 5-star ratings, those thoughts, the comments, suggestions, all coming our way. We appreciate it. And that's it for us. We're brought to you by Wilmington University. WilMU works. We will see you next time.